the reality. That's the bottom line. That's how it is. Okay? Okay, let's go back now to why this army is far more expensive than the old volunteer army, despite the appearance to the contrary. Right? Let me give you the example. Here we have Bella. Bella wants to start a new business. She's going to start a new business, a catering business for the LA area, you know. And so she needs small cars. It's just going to be for the LA area. So she figures out 100 small cars will do, like small used Toyotas. Okay? And so she knows of a dealer who's willing to sell to her 100 Toyotas, used Toyotas, for her catering service for $1,000 each. How much does she need to invest? Huh? Thank you. Is he the only one who's awake in this class or what? $100, sorry, $1,000 each, 100 cars, $100,000. That's the investment she needs to make in order to get the exact kind of car that she needs. She doesn't need a BMW. She doesn't need, you know, any expensive cars for her catering service. Just small used Toyotas will do, right? But you know what? Bella is a really powerful woman. She has links to the mafia, and she has her neighborhood terrorized. And so she's thought of a better system, a cheaper system to keep her business running. You know what she's going to do? She's going to draft her neighbor's cars. Because that's cheaper. You know? So some of her neighbors have small Toyotas. For the most part, there's a variety of cars. You know, they have BMWs, Mercedes, convertible, this and that. You know, a mixture of good and bad, but all together. You know. Now, so if she were to buy this, to pay for the kind of car that she needs, we said she would need to make an investment of $100,000. Correct? Now, if we are to add up the value of her neighbor's cars, is that going to be more or less than that? Way more. Way, way more than that. Okay? Well, that is exactly what the draft does. The kind of people you need for your army to be soldiers are a special kind of people who are willing to serve for X amount of money and who, you know, don't have any other professional openings at this moment. And that's exactly what you need, people who are motivated and who are willing to serve for that. But no. With the draft, you know how the draft was run, right? There was a lottery, and then they would come up with a year, 1957, and then a letter. If your last name begins with a K, you go to Vietnam. That's how it was, okay? Now, 1957, first letter of the last name. It may be an engineer, maybe an artist, a painter, maybe someone who would not want to serve, who would require a much, much higher salary to do that job because he doesn't like it. So you are adding up many values. You put in many values together, which when you add up, it's going to give you, as a result, a much, much bigger figure than if you were to pay the volunteers their regular market salary. Okay? So altogether, the cost, now remember, the country is like a large family. The cost, the investment you need to make to maintain this public service to the family as a whole is going to be much bigger with the draft system than with the all-volunteer system. However, it's such a strong impression when you say, well, but you pay them $100 each. And so it looks, it keeps imposing that to your eyes, like, but it's cheaper, it's $100. You need to understand that's not the case. It's much, much more expensive. To say that this is cheaper, you know what? Next semester, Um, if you need to buy your books and you don't have enough money, I have a suggestion. And this goes on tape. Imagine, okay? Just go to the bookstore, and when no one sees you, just steal the books. Because that's cheaper, isn't it? Isn't it cheaper? Yes or not? Is it cheaper or is it not? It is cheaper. It is cheaper. Well, that's the logic. That's the logic behind the draft. It's cheaper. When you don't pay for something, it's always cheaper, isn't it? I mean, if I don't have to pay taxes to sustain a public service, it's cheaper, okay? I mean, if we were to do that kind of a system for all public services, freeway building, teachers, anyone working for the state, we're going to draft them. We're going to draft them. They're going to get a real salary. Well, in the end, there will be a few people who, because of their age or because of some handicap or something, wouldn't be drafted to become policemen or teachers or soldiers or anything, and they'd be getting everything for free, right? And the economy would completely collapse. You see what I mean? It would benefit some people, but it would be at a terrible cost for everyone else. Now, the Gates Commission produced its documents, as I said, back in 1973. And back then, there were no fax, no personal computers. It wasn't like today. Okay? Back in 1970, actually. And so that documentation, I worked for years on the documents, on the Gates Commission documents, and I published a number of books on that. This is one of them. And the concept was difficult to understand. It never really went to other countries. I published it in Spanish, and it did have an effect in Spain's decision to abolish the draft. I was a civilian expert in Parliament when the decision was made. But barring that exceptions like that, these ideas that you may hopefully see clear by now are not clear in people's minds because it appears to be like so obvious that one is cheaper because sometimes I've given presentations like this to the military in Spain, to academics, and yes, while I'm explaining the concept, they understand it, but like 2 hours later, as we're having coffee, they will say something like, "Yeah, I understand what you say, but still, I mean, you must still recognize that this is cheaper because we pay them." Like, it just keeps coming back. Like, since you pay less, it's cheaper. It's like, well, I tell them, well, remember, when you steal something, it's always cheaper. Is that what you mean? They go, no. Well, then, but it's such a strong impression, that. Say, Germany has a draft, okay? And there are people who refuse to be drafted. We're going to talk about that in the second part of the class. We call that conscience objection. And some of those conscientious objectors started a lawsuit a few years ago, which got all the way to the German Supreme Court to have compulsory military service abolished. They said it was unconstitutional, it was unfair because only men were drafted. They didn't use the Gates Commission's concepts because they haven't been published in Germany or in other countries. It's as simple as that. Okay? And the Gates Commission, the German Supreme Court came up with a ruling denying that. And you have that in your Moodle readings for this week. Okay? And in that ruling, the Supreme Court of Germany offers a number of arguments. One of them is, guess what? That the draft is cheaper, more affordable. Now you understand that's a mistake, okay? But that's still a strong argument. Oh, no, we can't switch to an all-volunteer force, the Supreme Court of Germany says, because the draft is more affordable. More affordable for whom? For those who don't pay for it, right? But it's such a strong impression. And the second argument that the German Supreme Court gives is, it's a bad argument too, that the draft ensures civilian control over the